Hi, welcome back to our channel. Today, you've got it right, you read it right. I'm going to talk to you about sunbathing naked for your health. It's fantastic. Now, you want to do this as much as possible. And you're probably wondering about, well, what about skin cancer and what about skin aging? Well, I'm going to explain to you how to do it safely and how it's good for your health. And first of all, I'm going to tell you where I got my information from. The first information I got from a book that's called The Influence of Ocular Light Perception on Metabolism in Man and Animal. So this was a book that was written by an ophthalmologist, an eye doctor back in the 70s called Dr. Shirley. And it's a fantastic book, and it's still as relevant today as it was back in the 70s. So I got a lot of useful information about how the eye works, how the light receptors in our skin work. And I also got a lot of information from Dr. Jack Kruse, who is quite famous at the moment. He was a neurosurgeon, and now he's trying to get people healthy by doing natural and healthy things that, you know, we forgot about we used to do in the past and we're not doing anymore. Things like getting out in nature, getting out in sunlight, and how good it is for us for lots of different reasons, for longevity and for happiness and for general health. Those are my two sources of information. Now, when do you do this sunbathing? Well, early morning light is the most important time to do this, before there's much ultraviolet light. So ultraviolet light is part of the light spectrum that we get from the sun, but it's the bit that causes sun aging or skin aging and also skin cancers. The good news is that early in the morning there isn't much UV light. It's mostly from the infrared spectrum, and that is so good for us in two ways. So one is infrared light and heat is good for us. It reduces pain, it reduces inflammation. And secondly, it counteracts blue light, toxic blue light that we get from working indoors, sitting in front of a screen all day, working on the computer. We've got a lot of blue light toxicity. Even if you're not working and you're just playing around on your iPad or, you know, looking at your phone screen all day. I know lots of you retired people do that. You're looking at your grandchildren and chatting to them and things, but you will still be getting some blue light toxicity even from doing that. So it's worthwhile balancing that up with some nice red light therapy from the sun. It's free and it's natural and it's what we used to do. And it's so important to do these things because, you know, the cost of healthcare is increasing. Access to healthcare is getting harder. In the US, a lot of people don't have access to healthcare because they don't have health insurance, perhaps because they're not working or it doesn't come with their job. In the UK, the National Health Service is struggling because the cost of healthcare is rising and people have trouble accessing certain aspects of the health service. So it's more important now than ever for you to take control of your health and do things that you can do yourself at home to keep yourself healthy so you don't have to go to the doctor at all. And that's the most important thing, is you taking control of your health. There's so much information out there, so many things that you can do without having to go to the doctor, without having to take medication or even supplements, you know, things like getting out in nature, getting out in the sun. They don't cost anything. Here's your opportunity to find out some more information, how to do it correctly without costing you anything. And it's fun and enjoyable too. So what's not to like? Okay, let's get on to the facts. Now, when I read this book I read it recently, but it was written back in the 70s. It gave me information about how light works in our body. Now, let's start with our eyes. So we think about our eyes as for vision, for seeing. But there's actually a pathway that was there before we developed vision. And lots of animals still have this system. I don't want to use the word primitive, but it's like before we evolved eyesight. And it's a second pathway that is light receptive, so it responds to light, but it's not to do with vision. It's already active in animals that don't have vision at birth. So, lots of mammals can't see straight away at birth, but this other pathway is already working. And it's still there in reptiles and birds. So they have this rudimentary like third eye on the top of their head. Lots of reptiles have this. So you can actually see a little bump there. And that's part of their pathway. What is the pathway? So light comes in through your eyes and it goes directly to your pineal gland, which some people call the third eye. And then it goes from the pineal gland to the pituitary. Okay, what's the function of it? The pineal gland is very important because it makes melatonin. So it's really important for sleep. Now you'd think that you want melatonin to be secreted at night to help you sleep. And that's correct. It's light on the pineal gland early in the morning that stimulates melatonin to be made at night when you want to go to bed. So that's that early morning light that stimulates you to make melatonin 12 hours later. Okay, so that's really important. When we talk about jet lag, we talk about people, get out in the sun early in the morning in your time zone that you've traveled to. And this is the reason why, because it stimulates your pineal gland to make melatonin 12 hours later when you want to go to bed. So it helps you get over jet lag earlier. That's the reason why. Okay, so then from the pineal gland it goes to the pituitary. And the pituitary is a really important gland in our brain. It is a sort of master gland that sends hormones to lots of other parts of the body, like your thyroid. So it stimulates your thyroid hormones. It stimulates your sex hormones. So it's really important to get this working and get it stimulated working during the day, starting in the early morning. So, it's really important to get light in this pathway. And too many of us are stuck indoors. We get up, we rush off to work, we're in the office all day, or if we're in a home office, we're in the home office, stuck in front of the blue screen, and we're not getting the right kind of light, and we're not getting it first thing in the morning, when it is best for you and it doesn't have the ultraviolet light portion of sunlight. That's how the light gets into your eyes. Now, this ophthalmologist, he did a lot of work. Back in the 70s, a lot of people had their cataracts removed, but they didn't have new lenses put in because they weren't well developed at that time. So what he noticed was that a lot of people had their cataracts removed. They got healthier. Why? Because more light was getting into their eyes and stimulating this pathway. I mean, it's so amazing, isn't it? How our body works. And, everything's there to keep us healthy if we just knew about it and knew how to access it. So get sunlight, and get sunlight in your eyes early in the morning. Now, we also have light receptors on our body. So this is why you've got to sunbathe naked. You want light all over your body, so that all those light receptors are going to be stimulated. You're going to help you make vitamin D, which, as we know, is a really important hormone. It's really important for your immune system, and it helps control your weight. There's all sorts of functions for vitamin D, and we want to stimulate it naturally as much as possible. The early morning sunlight is the most important time to get out and get light on your body. Now, it's also important to get light on your nether regions as well. If any of you listen to Gwyneth Paltrow, she's been talking for years about getting sun on your perineum. And there is, evidence to back that up, that it helps with hormone production. It helps with blood flow to the area, stimulates blood to come into that area, bringing those healthy hormones with it. And for you guys out there, it helps blood flow. So if you're suffering from erectile dysfunction and, erections aren't as good as they used to be, or infertility, your sperm aren't as many as they could be. One of the things you could be doing, as well as eating a healthy diet and exercising, is getting out in the sunlight and getting sun on your nether regions. So what's not to like about that? It's a fantastic thing to do. But as I say, you've got to do it in the early morning. You've got to do it before there's much UV light in the sunlight. So how do you do that? Well, the first thing you do is check what the UV index is in your area at different times of the day. So here at the moment in Australia, it's coming into autumn, and the UV index starts to get high about 8 o'clock in the morning. So if you can get out before 8 a.m, you'll find the UV index is much lower, but check for your own area, because the times will be different depending where you are in the world, the latitude that you're at, and also the season. So obviously UV light will come into the sunlight much earlier in summer and a bit later in winter. So check what it's doing for you this week, okay? And get out before the UV index gets higher. Strip off as much as you can. So either naked, if you've got a private garden or a balcony that you can sunbathe naked, or you can wear tan through swimwear. So if you want to go for a walk on the beach and get your grounding as well in the sand, you can do that wearing the tan through swimwear, and there are some companies that you can buy that from. Now, a lot of people go out for an early morning walk, maybe they walk the dog, and that's great, but the problem is you're wearing clothes, you're wearing shorts and a t-shirt, or maybe trousers and a sweater, so you're not going to get that sunlight on your body, and that's why you want to go naked or nude and just get all the benefits from that infrared light that's coming through in the sunlight without the damaging UV light. Okay, so that's really important. And at the same time, you don't want to be wearing sunglasses early in the morning. You want to get that light into your eyes to stimulate your pineal gland and also your pituitary. Now, when the UV index goes up, so after 8 o'clock or whatever time it is in your part of the world, that's when you want to start wearing your sunglasses and covering up. Either, wearing clothes or sunscreen, covering up your skin so that the UV light doesn't damage you, you don't get sunburn, you don't increase your risk of skin cancer. That's the best advice I could give you about how to get safe sunlight early in the morning with minimal clothing. Okay, now how long do you do it for? Well, an hour would be really good, so 30 minutes on the front, 30 minutes on the back. But if you don't have time for that, half an hour is good, but even like 15 minutes. You can get out in the garden, have a cup of tea or coffee while you're sitting out in the sun, or, have a book with you, or magazine, something like that. Try to not take your phone out there with you, give yourself a digital detox, but minimum 15 minutes. Now, you might be saying, well, I live in a cold country. It's too cold to go out in the morning with no clothes on. And I hear you, it's getting a bit cold here for doing that as well. What can you do? Well, obviously, if you live in a cold climate or in your northern latitude, you want to make the best use of this in summertime. So spring into summer when it's warmer and the sun's out early in the morning, get up as early as you can and get out there. As Jack Cluse says, never miss a sunrise again. Get out there as much as you can in the summer. Get your vitamin D levels built up. In the winter, maybe it's a bit harder, but in the winter what you can do is cold water swimming as an alternative. Or you can do red light therapy at home if you have like a red light therapy panel, or maybe your gym has got red light therapy in their saunas, or they might have red light therapy panels. So there are alternatives. Just because you live in a cold country or in a high latitude doesn't mean that you can miss out on this. There are lots of ways of getting around it. So cold water swimming, red light therapy during the winter, saunas with infrared light is a great way to do a similar kind of thing. Now, it's not as good as getting sunlight, obviously, in the summer, but it will keep me going until next spring. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say about sunbathing nude. I hope you understand all the information. If you've got any queries, you can just put it in the comments and I'll try and answer them. But just to summarize, try and get out in nature as much as possible. Get out early in the day. Take the dog for a walk. If you can't sunbathe nude, at least just get outside. Do a bit of grounding. Put your feet on the grass, your bare feet. Get in touch with nature again. It is so good for us. If you live in a big city, sometimes it's hard. So take the opportunity every chance you get to get out in nature, whether it's at the beach or in the forest or just in a park nearby. It is so worthwhile. Okay, if you like what you hear, I'm going to do a lot more videos on how to keep yourself healthy, how to do great anti-aging, longevity, but not just longevity, but feeling healthy and enjoying life and getting the most out of life in your third age. So please subscribe, turn on notifications, and I'll talk to you again soon. And if you want to carry on watching, you can come down the Tweed River with me as I kayak with Mount Warning or Mount Willumban in the background, right next to our house. So, see you soon. Here I am kayaking on the Tweed River, just north of Willumba, just paddling upriver, and then going to float back down again. It's a beautiful day. And no, that isn't a croc. It's just a log floating in the river. We don't get crocs this far south. Now when you get up close to banks like this, you just got to be careful that there's no snakes around. They've just come down to the river for a drink, so you have a quick check before you land anywhere that you're not going to surprise a snake and interrupt them taking a drink, because that ain't good. Ever watch the clouds? Just sit and watch the clouds forming and expanding and disappearing and changing. It's just beautiful, isn't it?